Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Gay Grit, where I unpack the real challenges and frustrations and even some of the triumphs of the journey to finding belonging as a gay man. And if you identify as someone who feels that they are not seen or they feel invisible or they may be struggling with rejection or finding their place or struggling with their identity, this is definitely the place for you. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below to make sure you don't miss any of the updates on my channel. And then also head on over to info.gaygrit.com to sign up for my newsletter where I actually send weekly news and insights related to my video topics and other commentary. So today I'm going to talk about something that is very close to my heart, and that's setting goals. And because we're in another new year, it's been on my mind. It is, and I'm sure it's been on yours, or you're just trying to avoid it because it's a really stupid thing to think about. And you really kind of think about it as in terms of resolutions. And then you forget about them the next day, and then off you go. Everyone's different. And I am reminded of back when I was a teenager, setting a resolution for myself at this time. And I had decided that I wasn't going to be gay anymore. I decided that I wasn't going to have these thoughts, that I wasn't going to have these desires. I wanted to be accepted and loved. I wanted to have friends. And the only way to do that was just to not be gay. So I willed it that I wasn't going to be gay. And of course, the next year rolled around. After midnight, I woke up and nothing had changed. And what a disappointment, right? You can't really change something like that. That is something that's embedded in you, and it's just so much in there, and that's trying to take a part of you out. And when I think about goals and when I think about resolutions, the main difference, in my opinion, is a resolution is kind of like one of these like quick fix to make something go away. Sometimes they may be something that is to do with something that you don't like about yourself. So I'm going to resolve not to eat ice cream anymore. I'm going to resolve not to eat pizza. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. All these cosmetic things that you don't like about yourself. And maybe I'm going to be really clear. Maybe you do need to lose weight, or maybe you do need to think about your health, and maybe you do need to do certain things, and it's a longer term plan. But in terms of resolutions, I'm thinking of things that are shot from the hip, where you're like, I got to come up with a resolution. I think I'm going to be this now. And contrasting that with something that's a little bit more mindful and a little bit more thoughtful, in something that you may have a little bit more long-term control over. That is something that to do takes a little bit of working out. And a number of years ago, a friend of mine had taken his life, and it was very, very upsetting to me as well as it was to a lot of people who knew him. And it was something that was completely unexpected, and I didn't know what to do. I felt like I needed to do something, and I did a lot of reflecting. It was toward the end of the year, and I had decided, I want to do something in the new year that would be a commemoration of his memory, and also something that would bring people together to let them know that they were seen and they were known and heard and recognized and valued as people in the community. And I had decided to host dinner parties in my home. And I was going to invite different people over every month. I was going to make them things, and I wanted to just have people there. And I had learned that having people in your home and especially sharing a meal together was a really great way to build community. I come from a spiritual background and in churches and things, and this is something that I had grown up with. And also I had a family where we all did a lot of different gatherings when I was young. And so I knew this had really good feelings and good memories associated with it. So when the new year came around, I thought about that, and I'm like, I'm going to do one a month. And wow, that was really scary because at that time I didn't have anybody. I just never had anybody over my place. I'm in a gay community, and I had a lot of perceptions as to what it would mean for people that I barely knew or hardly knew at all to come into my home. That meant I had to have my act together. I had to have nice things on the walls. I had to have nice dishes. I had to have nice silverware. I had to have good place settings. I had to have all this together. And it was a real stressful moment for me. Again, that made me think about that resolution where you're trying to control something that is a little bit silly, not silly, but it's something that's very cosmetic and very surfacey, and it's not really that goes and digs down deep into something that's meaningful for you. And so every month I just plowed through and I just invited a few guys that I knew, maybe 3 or 4 people. I started with people I knew pretty well just to kind of warm it all up. And then as the months progressed, I would just invite other people that I was kind of afraid to invite, people I didn't really know very well, but I'd seen them at the gym, and I wanted, or even people that I kind of knew from afar, and I knew they were pretty successful. And I'm like, oh God, those guys, they probably have a really nice place, and they're going to come into my home, and they're going to judge me for it. Oh my God, I had having to work through all of that stuff. And every month I invited people over. And what was really interesting is the more that I invited people over, I did it for 12 months. I found myself changing. And this is the nice thing about setting a goal like this. It's something that you have to work through, and you have to kind of take steps and put skin in the game, where you're not just going to flippantly off the cuff just say you're going to do something that you can quit on it and change your mind later and not really go do the do. When you invite people, and one of the things that I did, I actually set it out there and let people know that I was doing this, and I would invite them over. But every month I would do it, and they would come over, and lots of funny stories. People in the living room, and I don't have a formal dining room, so like everyone had to come into the living room. This is just the way it is. It's a very small apartment, and it was just a really nice time. And people would talk, and they would get to know one another, and there would be funny exchanges. I remember one year we did like this little karaoke contest, like just out of the blue, just playing music that we liked and doing these little dances, and maybe 7 or 8 people were there, and it was just a lot of fun. And what that taught me is that having people and having a goal like this is a very vulnerable moment. Having people into your home is like a reflection of you. It is something that is kind of an extension of who you are. And if they come into your space, that's really bringing them into a really close, intimate space. And it feels weird to have people in your home. And at the same time, you're inviting them in and they're getting to know you. And I can tell you, by setting that goal, I was able to establish some really nice friendships that I still have to this day that I would never have had if I had not taken the risk to ask those people over to let me cook, basically a stranger cook dinner for them or whatever. And I would make these crazy things, bacon wrap dates, and I had some kind of like crazy whiskey sangria that I made one year and one month. And it was just a lot of fun, very memorable. And having a practice like that where you take a risk to do whatever it is. Like for me, it was like having people over to my home and letting them, inviting them into my space because I wanted to create a sense of community. For you, it may be just be something different. It may be inviting someone out for coffee because you feel like you need a sense of connection with somebody, or you feel like maybe a little alone, or maybe you going through a hard time in life and you need to have somebody to talk to. I would encourage you to really think through, what is it that you want to have for yourself in the coming year? What is it that you want to work through? What challenge or frustration are you dealing with that makes you feel insecure, that makes you feel maybe like you're less than somebody else or not seen by somebody? What can you do to change the energy between yourself and your community, between yourself and your family, between yourself and your work colleagues, whatever it is? So I'd really encourage you to spend some time in reflection this week. Pull out your journal, put on some music, and really think through, who do I see myself as? Where do I want to go? What relationships would I like to have? Who do I want to be on the inside?